Welcome back to Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Chat Network, your first stop for pop culture talk. I'm your host, Nico, and joining with me today, as always, my co-host, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, not too bad. How are you?
Good. Not too bad. Smaller week of comics to get into here today, guys, but that's all right. Our last couple of weeks, I feel like we've been talking over 20-something books here, so smaller week was very much appreciated here. So we might be right back to it next week. Who knows? So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. This is our weekly comic book review show where we come here and talk about the comics that we read week to week, give you some thoughts, reviews and ratings and on the book, show off some of the artwork. And, sometimes we get into some comic book news as well. And if you guys ever want to hear about future books, that they announce, and if whether or not we want to pick them up, if we're interested in them, and hear some more comics talk, make sure to check out our comic book solicitation videos that also drop in or in the Comic Shop Talk playlist here on the Late Night Chat Network YouTube channel. This week, we're talking about the new comics that came out for the week of April 2nd, 2025. And as always, spoiler warning there for you guys. If you're worried about getting the book spoiled, you can always read your books and come back and check us out at a later time. All right, Chris.
All right. Let's talk comics.
Talk some comics. Cheers.
Cheers.
I got some steam whistle there. Do you? The beer that got us. The beer that got us through the pandemic.
It's payback time. It's fine. It's almost like $5 more for a 6-pack. I know how long you can keep this up.
They're like, remember when we gave you all that free beer? Yeah, guess what? It's time to pay the piper.
Yeah, I'm trying to go, stay local. But I might have to go back to Molson Canadian. That $5 can be hit the pocket a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy. Okay. First up on the docket here today, we got Absolute Green Lantern #1, the newest out of the Absolute line of books of titles from DC. I guess that makes 6 titles now that are out at the currently, and some people would say they're overdoing it. I'm sure Chris may agree. So, Chris, what'd you think? What'd you think of this first issue?
I remember reading this in the previews, and I think those previews, they hooked me a little bit. They had me interested in what was going on with that giant Green Lantern symbol that was kind of just popping up in the middle of some town. And this comic, it looks like they're out in Nevada somewhere in some like backwater town. And I think you're introduced to Hal Jordan right off the bat, and you don't know what's going on with him during this comic. There, he's got his hand in his pocket the whole time. I think he gets pulled over by a cop. And, everything seems to be going pretty smoothly with the interaction there. And the cop tells him, okay, just take your hand out of your pocket and, we'll see what we can do to help you out. He's like, oh, I can't do that. And, I'm imagining it's because he's got that Green Lantern ring on his hand. But, they don't tell you that part at that point, at least. And freaking just bad things happen. And, they don't really show you what happens. And then, he kind of just keeps on moving along. And he ends up in some diner there, once again, with his hand in his pocket. Then you kind of see some news of what's happening. I think they introduce a few other of Green Lantern sort of cohorts. They all seem to be in a town together. And I don't know. There's just some crazy stuff going on here. And I think I'm enjoying this one.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. And I did like the way that it got built up, although it was a very kind of like simple kind of setup issue. And then by the end of the issue, you end up finding out, even though you're kind of following the events of Hal Jordan kind of reacting to everything going on here throughout the issue, it turns out, I guess, the person that is the Green Lantern is what's her name? Jo Mullein, or I don't know how you say her name, but she's this other Green Lantern that they did a book about, Far Sector in the Green like in the DC Comics a few years ago, and she's a black woman Green Lantern that's actually showed up now, I think, in proper DCU, if I'm not mistaken. I think she is part of like the main line, because I know that originally she was like a title that I think existed outside of the main continuity. She might still be, but I think she's considered by a lot of people one of the newer Green Lanterns, like the Green Lantern fans, that they really enjoy her, from what I understand. And they brought her in here. Of course, you see John Stewart, and was Guy in this issue? I can't remember.
I think they mentioned him. I don't think he was in it personally, though.
Right. So, it was an interesting start when that big Green Lantern kind of symbol, the thing fell like on the town there. That was pretty crazy. Like this page where we're just at.
Yeah, it's kind of like, what the heck's going on? This is like totally, opposite of any sort of Green Lantern lore from from the mainline universe. So I thought the book had a good feel to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was familiar with who this Green Lantern was, just because I like I said, her mini series introducing this character kind of came out a few years ago and was really popular amongst DC fans. And here, they reintroduced her, so she's, I guess, going to be the main focus and character in this absolute Green Lantern. But the whole time they got you thinking it's Hal, who's definitely up in the mix, but I don't know what his deal is there after this issue. Like, what's going to
Yeah,
happen?
like I know what's going on with his arm. Is seems to have some sort of some black magic or some space something going on. I don't know.
And I guess this is what Abin Sur looks like, which is much different from the Abin Sur that we've seen in like the main DC books, right? See his head, like it looks like a Dragon Ball Z villain or something. this
Yeah.
kid's character here, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, it definitely piqued my interest. Like I didn't pick this up in physical releases, but I might give it a couple of issues. I don't know. Green Lantern, I'm not all too interested ever in Green Lantern. I find it's like a tougher sell of a character for me, whereas like I'm more interested, let's say, in the Flash book that came out so far. But I gotta say, like, even though it was like a simple setup of an issue, by the end, I did want to kind of see what happened next. So, it has that going for it. Although, like every new issue, it seems like this second wave of Absolute books so far, it seems like these first issues, they aren't really giving you a lot of answers, and they're not really kind of.
Yeah, they're stretching stuff out.
Yes.
And once again, when this all started with that DC and the Dark Side, that must have been an add-on after all this stuff came in because
All in, you mean? The all in
yeah,
thing?
that all in. You know, like remember they had that Dark Side special or whatever, the all in special that sort of launched this universe. But that launch has nothing to do with whatever's going on in any of these comics. You know, they said that Dark Side energy is in all these worlds. There is no mention of it in any of these comics.
Well, they almost alluded to the fact that that the main DCU and this universe are going to basically meet essentially, right? That's what happened in that special. It seemed like there was
Yeah,
so like maybe after a year or two of this absolute universe, maybe that's the plan, right? Like a Marvel 616 Ultimate Universe type of crossover type of deal. You know what I mean? Like they've done with their stuff where the Ultimate characters kind of travel back over to the 616 universe, and then they killed the Ultimate line only to bring it back years later now, right? So maybe that's what they have planned for this, but yeah, maybe they need some time to build these characters up, but they're really slow rolling these guys' stories out. These
yeah.
first like
I
I
think
don't
that's the problem with the 6 issue arc. If these were, just kind of trying to put out comics, I think a lot more would be happening in these first issues.
but was it even this slow for the first wave? I don't think it was. I think that like Wonder Woman and Batman, I felt like they kind of they gave
Slow
you
at
like
first.
they kind of threw them right into the action of like for the most part of those first issues. Obviously they were setups, but I don't know if they
Batman,
were
the first issue stunk. It was about the zoo and his father dying. The first issue of Superman wasn't all that great.
no.
And the first issue of Wonder Woman wasn't all that great either.
That's true. So maybe this is just kind of the approach that they're taking with these
That's the blueprint.
because I just feel like I definitely noticed it with the Flash, the Martian Manhunter one, and this one is
Yeah.
that by the end of each of these single issues, you still are not sure who the main focus is on, who the characters, like what's going on with them. You know what I mean? Like even in Flash, like they tried to make you think at first maybe Barry Allen, it's his Flash, but then Wally West is in it as well, right? And same with this one.
Yeah.
They mentioned like almost all of the main Green Lantern core characters. It felt like at least a few of the more popular ones right now. And then they kind of swerved at the end where they're like, oh, I think the focus is actually on her, not Hal Jordan, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of playing with your expectations a little bit, which isn't a
We,
bad
we,
thing.
we can talk about swerves later on and in some other comics, but
Yeah. What'd you give this?
this one I give it a 4. I really like this one.
Oh wow. Yeah, no, you definitely liked it a bit more than I did. I'd probably give this a 3.5, right down the middle. I think there was nothing wrong with that. I thought it was enjoyable. I'm looking forward to see what happens next, but it also didn't hook me, let's say, as much as like, even though I am interested to see what happens. It just, I don't know. I like the approach maybe for the last couple of absolutes over this one so far, but Green Lantern might be just a tough sell for me. So I don't know. Not bad. Not bad. Absolute Superman number 6. There we go. What do you think of
Yeah,
this?
yeah, that's garbage.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not into this whole freaking back into the timeline sort of business. Enough with his history. We had his history on Krypton. Now we have his history in Smallville. You know, the way they portray Smallville, it's kind of wacky. Whatever they have, that Lazarus core is controlling the weather so that Kent Farm it's losing its crops because they don't want to sell out to the Lazarus. It's just too much. Just get on. You know, they had a decent story going, and then they throw this stuff in. You know, I'm glad I dropped this, and this wasn't one. You know, maybe the last issue was something that might have brought me back, but this one just threw me right back out again.
Again, we're 6 issues in, and you're still telling us a revised version of
Yeah,
this guy's origin. No thanks. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, listen, I love Jason Aaron. I think he's been doing a lot of great work lately. This might end up going somewhere interesting eventually, but I'm like Chris just said. I echo what he said. I'm not disappointed. I dropped this. I think I dropped this with issue 3 or 4 in physical issues, and now we've just been reading the last couple digitally. But still, probably one of my least favorite of the absolute titles, just because I don't feel like it's doing anything that kind of sets it apart from the original Superman.
yeah,
So that I'm very interested or invested in what's going on here. And not only that, like there's not even a main focus on a storyline going on right now in the current day, I feel like, in this book, because every issue we're getting flashbacks, and we're in issue 6, and just now he's telling the story about Ma and Pa Kent, where I'm just like, really? Like, we're in issue 6 now, guys. Like, this is where you're usually ending your arc and headed towards a new storyline where, you're telling the story that everyone knows already about this character, right?
yeah,
And this isn't even very different from the original, honestly. I felt like, so yeah, I might not even check out the next issue. That's how bad I felt about this one, to be honest with you. It was just very boring. I felt like I was like, okay, big deal.
yeah,
Definitely my least favorite, because the other ones just all started. So Flash, Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern, hard to kind of determine how good those books are going to be so far. Wonder Woman, it's great. Batman really turned a corner the last couple of issues, and this is just still the same. So yeah. What'd you give this out of 5, Chris?
3.25.
Yeah, that's the correct rating. Yeah, that's what I was about to give it.
That is the correct rating.
That is the correct rating. Yeah, that's what I was gonna give it to. All right, another big new release this week: Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell #1. This is issue 1 of 3, and they're oversized issues. So it is a $6.99 price tag. It is an oversized issue, but don't let that scare you off, because I think this is definitely worth checking out. But Chris, why don't you let us know what you thought about it?
Yeah, I didn't have this on my pull list, and
I told you the big
I
one.
was tempted to try and just freaking go out and find this, or give you a call if you had a copy hanging around, go pick it up.
You could have.
Like the way this comic starts out, it's whatever Daredevil's in a graveyard, just kind of doing whatever he does, whatever reminiscing, but you don't know who's in the grave. And, once he turns away, walks away, he sees the Kingpin's grave. Right from there, I'm interested. And it just goes from there. It just keeps on freaking steamrolling. The art suits this story 100%. I wouldn't say it's great art, but I have no complaints about it. I think it suits this story 100%. And just the stuff that goes on in this comic. This was a comic. Daredevil needed this comic. I'll say that much. Compared to what he's been going through. Even with the Beast storyline where he became like the god or whatever, and then what he's going through now in his new series, it just hasn't been great. And this one just knocks it right out of the park. Just you have a depowered Daredevil, the world he's in. They don't give you much history, and I'm glad they don't. I don't need 2 issues of talking about some war that went on and how he lost his powers, but he has no powers. He's running a soup kitchen. It all tracks for what he's doing. And then, some people, he runs into a couple of thugs. And, he's still a good guy. He's still, look, guys, I don't know who you are. I'm blind. And he invites them down to his store. You think that might be the big key moment of this, and really has nothing to do with the story. There's some explosion that goes on in the subway near his soup kitchen. He goes down there, and freaking Captain America, freaking holding up, like, I don't know what he's holding up, but he's got freaking like rebar coming out through his guts, and he's
Yeah.
telling him some story. It's like, oh, it's crazy. And then freaking I imagine Captain America dies in there. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, he went back to get him, and then he couldn't feel his pulse anymore, like because he
Yeah.
has his powers back as a result of this blast. For whatever reason, it like it activated his powers again. And so then when he goes back in there to go back and save Cap, because Cap says, take this person, run them out of here, go on ahead. They won't survive if you don't do this. So he
Yeah.
brings them out. And by the time he goes back in, like you could hear Cap still talking. He's like, I'm gonna keep talking and I'm gonna tell you what like
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
what's going
This
on.
is the mission here.
Yeah, because he knows that he can hear him, even though he's going to be going up because he has his powers. So then when he stops talking and then he doesn't feel his pulse or like anymore, like he's just like, okay, yeah, he's dead. He doesn't even bother making it the whole way after that, right? So,
Yeah. And if that was the end of the issue, that would have been fine.
oh
But
my
then
god,
it goes. But then it goes even
yeah,
crazier.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, whatever. Somebody steals Captain America's shield, you know, and it takes it back to his boss. I think that boss is supposed to be Bullseye. You know, I think they kind of, I don't know if they
Bullseye, yes,
flat
because
out mention it, but they do kind of make some hints.
well, yeah, he says target. Oh, yeah, it's right on target or something like that.
Yeah.
There's a couple of lines where you're like, okay, that has to be Bullseye. And there's the way he's like fiddling with that needle that he has that he sticks. Yeah, it's definitely Bullseye. I think you're right. Yeah, that's
Yeah. And then, you know, Bullseye, you know, he's happy to receive this gift of the shield. And then, you know, he's talking to somebody. Goes, oh, I bet you wouldn't want, you know, I bet you want to get your hands on this. And who is the person he's talking to? It's a fucking chained up Frank Castle Punisher. It's like, whoa, man.
and he's just literally a torso. His arms and legs are gone. He's
That is just crazy.
yeah, it is. I agree with you. When that part happened, I'm like, wow, they're not holding back in this book.
Yeah.
This is brutal. Even
Like
this
all I can say is this I don't know who the writer is, this Soul guy.
Charles Soule.
They're like that when they gave him this story, when he pitched it to him, like the handcuffs are off. It's like you do whatever you want. And this is a perfect freaking whatever, Elseworld or whatever they call it in Marvel. A perfect story.
I agree. I'm glad that's only going to be like 3 oversized issues as well. Like this isn't going to like be a thing that lasts forever. They do have the proper amount of time to tell the story as a result of the higher page count. Steve McNiven definitely has changed his style of his art on this. You know who this artist is, Chris? This is the same artist that drew Old Man Logan with Mark Millar.
Yeah.
And his style then was
I
much
think he
more
found his niche.
yeah, well, this is his style is much more detailed, like when he was doing that. But the last couple of things he's drawn, he's really been trying to like do different types of styles. Like this is definitely, I felt like more of like in the vein of like a Frank Miller style he's trying to
Yeah.
do here. And of course, like there's so many things that this book kind of gives the nod to the Old Men books, Dark Knight Returns, of course, and of course the classic Daredevil, like Frank Miller stuff, like even like the Born Again kind of vibe, like shit, like where like he's in a bad spot in his life and but again this is the more of the Old Man universe approach to it and absolutely Dark Knight Returns, like you can't, which is also Miller of course, this is definitely feels like a Dark Knight Returns kind of Batman, like kind of, and from what I heard them when they were like promoting this, that was kind of the tagline that you're going to say about this one. Charles Soule, he did a really good run on Daredevil as well, so if you guys liked this, even though his run that he was on before Zdarsky, actually, Chris, he did a Daredevil run. It's definitely different than this because it's in current timeline for Marvel, but it was also a really good run, and so he clearly has a good take on the character here. But yeah, I agree with you. This scene, the ending scene for me, like everything else is fantastic. Of course, the Captain America scene, even like the brutal human nature part of the guys mugging him for being blind at the start.
Yeah.
I was just like,
and he helps them out. They still freaking steal from him.
yeah, like this is like, yeah, and of course, the classic, this is like a post-apocalyptic kind of world where some shit went down, and like you said, giving us very minimum details, it was great. Like we don't need to get into all this because this is a story to see where Daredevil's at currently, right? So but yeah, this scene just did it. It was yeah, look at that
Right
like,
there. What?
oh no, maybe he did have no, his legs are cut off as well, right? Yeah, like it's like what's keeping him alive? I don't know. He's got the Punisher thing etched out on his chest. just being tortured. It's insane. And the art, I really enjoyed the art. Great stuff. I
Yeah.
honestly, I have nothing negative to say about this issue. Fantastic book to come out in a small week of books that we had as well. Honestly, I was really, really happy about this one. What'd you give this, Chris? Say it, Chris. Say it.
Try.
Yes, yes, yes. So do I. Yes. Honestly, I came here with that intention to say that because this was that good. This was that fucking
If I can't give this a 5, I know what I could give a 5
right.
to.
Right. Thank you. Okay, good. I'm glad you made the right decision. Once again, that's the right call.
But the only reason I wouldn't want to give it to a 5 is because I didn't buy it.
Yeah, 5 out of 5. Absolutely. Yeah, there you go, guys. That's a great book this week. Rush
Yeah.
out and get this if you can find it. But talking about swerves, let's get into the biggest reveal of the week, Chris, was an all new Venom number 5, which, I think this was actually revealed a day or two before it actually came out. I think there was
Yeah,
some,
revealed. Yeah, the reveal was out on Monday,
yeah,
and freaking everybody like the story. You couldn't get away from this story if you wanted to. Like if you follow comics,
yeah.
on all my feeds, like they weren't even trying to save the spoil because I think Marvel themselves announced it. So I think once Marvel announced it, then
Tuesday night.
all the other sites feel like okay, Marvel said it, so we can
Yes,
spoil it. And like it'd be right in the picture of what's going on.
exactly.
I considering the other options, I can't say I'm mad about. Okay, well, we can get into the spoilers that Mary Jane is Venom, but I imagine the whole world knows about that now. I don't think we're spoiling that for anybody.
Not at all.
But as for the comic itself, you know, just because it was spoiled, like the whole comic is ruined. Because basically the whole issue is them sort of dancing around the idea of who the Venom is. They kind of, it's like those Ocean 13s where they explain everything at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what it was. But when you know the answer already, then those exposition scenes seem to be less impactful. But this Al Ewing, it looks like he's having fun with this. Like with that Modoc, I don't know what that Modoc was doing, and in that fight with Venom there, and he's shooting telepathic beams out of his nose and stuff like that. It's fun stuff. I enjoyed it. I enjoy freaking I enjoy Mary Jane being Venom, and I'm interested to see where it goes. As long as they keep Carlos Gomez on the art, if they were to say JR is the new artist coming onto this comic afterwards, I'd drop like a hot potato. But I like the artist. The story it's interesting enough, and we'll see how it goes.
I actually like this issue like the least out of everything they've done in this first arc so far, only because the focus was on the fact that this reveal was going to happen this issue. So like I think it took some of the excitement or usual
Yeah,
fun of this.
yeah. If you didn't know at the end, then at the end you go, oh wow, okay, then it might have hit you harder. You wouldn't have time to process kind of how you feel about Mary Jane being the Venom there. And they didn't have to use your line, oh Robbie, you hit the jackpot. Enough. You got to say that. That's a classic line. You say that for important stuff.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I'm actually not that mad that it's her. I'd actually rather it be her this way than Jackpot, to be honest with you, because I think Jackpot's kind of dumb. I think that
Yeah.
if she's gonna run around in a Venom symbiote suit, that it makes sense. Like it even makes sense like she would have the power that she would have, or that the symbiote would want to be around Mary Jane because she's such a part of Peter's, you know what I mean? It makes way more sense
Yeah.
that she is this character as opposed to this random superhero that they invented for her in this the whole jackpot thing. She had some fun times I guess with Black Cat, but otherwise it doesn't make any lick of sense that she's that character. And even more so with this whole Paul situation, it's all just terrible stuff that I felt carried over from the Zeb Wells run. So if we're gonna keep these characters around, this makes much more sense and to me, and is actually better, I think, for the character. And it's kind of keeps her in the Spider-Man world adjacent by putting her in the Venom book. You know what I mean? It makes sense that it all tracks for me anyways.
And then now, whenever they have Mary Jane doing stuff and Venom's going to be the voice in her head,
Yeah.
I can't complain about that. It's not like this is some gritty universe that they're going to. They're going to have some fun stuff. I can imagine when she's having arguments with with Paul, or when Paul's doing dumb stuff, you're gonna have Venom go, you're gonna put up with this freaking insignificant bum. I think it's already been realized that Venom isn't a fan of Paul either. And Venom has, he knows Peter Parker's inner secrets too. They just had that Venom War, that Spider-Man comic where, they kind of hinted some stuff there still. So even though we could talk in news there that I think the editors or the chief there just said, hey, Peter Parker MJ never ever going to happen. But the more they protest, the less I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of said that. If you don't like it, then don't read it.
Yeah, well, those words might come back. Might come back to haunt him for the Amazing Spider-Man. Because I heard some crazy stuff about what that thing might be about.
Oh, really?
And I think they're gonna have flashback scenes in there. We'll have Spider or Peter Parker in freaking in grade school.
Oh, I didn't hear about that. That doesn't sound appealing to me, though.
Doesn't sound great at all.
Oh God. Okay. We have that to look forward to.
Yeah.
What'd you give this book out of 5?
I have a 3.75.
I'll go 3.5 on this as well, just because I felt like the focus, like I just was waiting the whole issue for that reveal at the end, and it kind of affected the fun of the book usually that I have with it, right? But Carlos Gomez, I'm happy he's still part of it, and it's a fun book.
If he stays part of this, I'm on this story as long as he is. And maybe now that the reveal is out, might have more of a She-Venom look to Venom than a Venom look.
Then I got a couple here I read this week. We got Batgirl number 6. This basically rounds out the end of this first arc, and continuing the story between the mother and daughter, Lady Shiva and Cassandra Cain here, with this whole thing that they've been on the run from these people that have been tracking down her mother, and they both are kind of caught up here by them and strung up by the ceiling there, and prisoners of these bad guys, this secret sect of people that have been trying to chase down her mother that she kind of tried to help out in her time of need. And they basically just got to kind of work their way out of this situation in this issue. And, they kind of come together and take these people down. But in a desperate attempt to save her daughter and in an escape that they're trying to make, she stays behind and allows her daughter to move on ahead. And it appears that they may have killed Lady Shiva at the end of this issue. And she has like a touching moment with her. But even prior to that, when all the shit went down, she kind of was like, yeah, you know what? Like, this is it. I don't want to talk to you after this. Like, you've only caused problems in my life. Like, I don't know what this is. I see that you're trying to make the effort. I don't know why. But this will just never be good, this relationship. So we fight these people and that's it. After this, I don't want to talk to you anymore. And she's like, okay, fair enough. And then, once this occurs, like I said, her mother doesn't seem like she survives the ordeal, though they allude to at the end of this. So, and she gets away. So, we'll see what ends up happening, but there were some good, fun fight sequences in the book. I like the art. I think it's good characterization in this title. And for the first focus of the first arc of this book being the relationship between these two characters, I thought it was a good story. So I give this 3.75. I mean, we don't rate arcs. We usually only rate like the end of a book here on the show. But let's say this is the first trade collection of this story, I would even go 3.75, maybe even 4 for this. If you're a Batgirl fan, Cassandra Cain fan like I am, I think this is definitely a book. If you didn't check it out, it's worth checking out. I enjoyed it. I'll probably end up getting the trade. And then Birds of Prey number 20. Not too much to add to this. Again, I just keep reading it. I've dropped it now, like probably several issues ago, but it's such a middling book for me at all times. I like all the characters in this. I constantly want to like this book more than I do. I love Kelly Thompson. She's doing a great job on Absolute Wonder Woman. But this is it's just not hitting the mark for me, this book. They're all kind of now separated a lot on these missions that they've been doing, and they all have like different functions of the team and this kind of thing. But when this book started out, I just felt like the way I envisioned this title, or that I heard Kelly Thompson talk about it, I thought it was going to be like a much more revolving team of characters, Like Harley was like in the first arc, if you remember way back when this book started. And I thought it was going to be more of like a Suicide Squad kind of approach of people kind of cycling in and out. And obviously a few main core characters, which it kind of is with the core, but I don't feel like we're getting a lot of other people passing through or going on missions with them. And now it's this, she's trying to do some character building stuff between the actual members of the team, which is cool. But this is already after bouncing around so much and having kind of like two very long drawn out arcs. So it's not as good as I want it to be. I think it has a lot of potential, but it's just not, like I said, hitting the mark for me. So I'll give this a 3.5 out of 5. Again, I still like mind it. It's not terrible by any means. It's just like, I just wish it was a lot better. And I know it could be, but it's just not happening. Anyway, so that's Birds of Prey number 20. Oh yeah, and basically somebody now is like systematically trying to take out all the members of the team. So in this issue, the way it ends, it looks like Big Barda gets taken out, and like who's going to be next, kind of thing, right? So that's kind of what's going on right now. GSA number 6, again, a book that I've dropped in issues. And, these are the types of books that, if they're on busier weeks, who knows if I'll check in on them, because I'm not feeling too strongly about anything here. This is Jeff Lemire's JSA book. I do think, this will read better in a chunk. For me, for issues, it just wasn't cutting it, because, again, we're coming into the end of this arc right now. And this whole time, the old school JSA characters and the new ones, the younger kind of group of characters, compared to the legacy ones, they all kind of got separated, and they all basically are coming back together at the end of this arc here, facing off against, the bad guys responsible for what's been happening. It's just very paint by numbers, basic kind of approach to superhero books. Like Jeff Lemire's not, I wouldn't say he's doing disservice to this, because it does feel like a classic superhero comic book, and probably like an old school JSA Justice League title. It's just, it's just very run of the mill, I feel like. And, it's, again, nothing seriously wrong with it, but nothing too exciting to write home about either. And there's no superstar artists on it. The art, again, is fine. Nothing wrong with it. But yeah, if I dropped it today and didn't end up reading it again, I wouldn't be, upset, I would say. But it's keeping my interest for the most part. So, looks like they lost, what's his name there? Not Catman. There's the boxer who was in, I can't even remember his freaking name. He's the one that's in Black Canary. That's the guy that's beside her. Yeah, I that's basically helping her, like, the side of the ring. I can't remember his name right now, but yeah, he basically looks like he got taken out at the end of this. So I guess we'll see about that. I give this a 3.5 out of 5. And Psylocke 6 also dropped this. I'm not sure if there's going to be any covers that really entice me moving forward. I hope not, anyways. This cover is good. I like this cover, but I didn't pick it up. Some little backside.
We have a bunch of good covers already. You got to get some great covers out there.
That's right. Yeah, that bit of cake on that cover is not going to get me to pick it up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway,
oh my God, I won't pour a glass of milk for that cake.
Again, I think the story is not bad in this, but I dropped it. I was mainly just picking this up for the covers lately. And again, this was a light week, so I ended up checking it out. I think I just dropped it with last issue. Magic shows up in this issue, and whatever happened to her at the end of the last arc with the bad guy that she just dealt with, there's some sort of thing happening internally in her. I don't know if like there's a spirit in there, or there's like some sort of evil side of her coming out, but something's wrong with Psylocke. And there's like some evil spirits, like she's seeing them now, like around people or inside of her. So something screwy is going on with her currently. So basically Magic suggests that they go and check out that member of the Uncanny X-Men team, the one that's like the dead kid that can like basically cross over and speak to the dead and the afterlife people. Yeah, that kid, the really goth looking
Raven guy.
Yeah. So they go to check in with him because they think he can help her in this issue. And of course, or was that X-Men this week? Was that X-Men this week, or is that this book? I might
have been this book.
I think it's this one, because I don't think that happened in X-Men. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's in this one. And they go to visit him. And of course, when they go to visit him, Rogue finds out that they're there and she has an issue with this. Why are you bothering my students? And blah, blah, blah. It's like a whole thing, right? So I'm just like, yeah, no, thank you for the reminder as to why I'm not enjoying this current status
Yeah,
quo
the
of X.
current era of the X-Men. It's not even
Yeah,
just
yeah. So yeah, there's the kid there. So I'm just like, okay, I'm out. Yeah, it
like
was
they
complete.
killed Krakoa for this. Are you serious?
I know. So yeah, I just don't like how now all the teams are not even associating with one another. They show up asking for help. Like, what are you doing here, bothering my student? It's like,
Yeah, and I thought after that Omega wasn't that like, Charles, he put, oh, don't fight brothers, be friends. You go, okay, maybe, maybe they'll be more hospitable to each other. Nothing. It's more of the same.
3.25 out of 5. Yeah, I'm done with that book. So, and then finally, G.I. Joe Silent Missions Beachhead #1. These are a bunch of like issues. I think they're doing like 5 or 6 of them with different artists in the basically as a nod towards the famous silent issues of GI Joe that they had, which I guess Snake Eyes, that was his first appearance in the GI Joe comics from Marvel, if I'm not mistaken, was in one of the silent issues. And then I think Todd McFarlane also had drew that issue, if I'm not mistaken, as well. I think that was like one of his famous earlier things he had worked on that people cite as, an early Todd McFarlane thing that he did. So I'm pretty certain it's the silent issue, if I'm not, or if not, he definitely did some G.I. Joe issues around that
I think
time.
he did one G.I. Joe issue because there's one cover with Snake Eyes as an homage to the Spider-Man #1.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think that's the one he did.
I think it's the silent issue where he's introduced with Snake Eyes, if I'm not mistaken, but I might be wrong about that. But anyways, yeah, this is basically just Beachhead running a mission told with no words, as the point of this book is. Phil Hester is the artist in this, and it really just depends on whether or not you like Phil Hester as an artist. I like Phil Hester, so for me this was fine, and I think it's really a test to the artist to be able to tell a cohesive story with no words for you to understand what's going on throughout the events of the issue. Like, it really is all up to the artist doing it as a result of no words, right? And so these are all going to be like artist, writer type of issues, like with the artist being, doing all of the work essentially. It was fine. I mean, it was okay. Not he just ran a mission in this one, but I give this also like a 3.25. It was fine,
Yeah,
but it was
it's an odd choice to pick Beachhead as #1
yeah,
to do. You figure to try and go with a more well-known or a more popular Joe to start out this whatever this 5-issue
right.
run of these silent missions.
The funny part about it is the Duke issue is drawn by Wes Craig. I would have thought they would have started with that one to kind of highlight this whole thing, right? But it's not.
Yeah, you start out with the big one right off the bat.
Yeah, so that's the one I'm most looking forward to, and I picked up the physical issue of that. I pre-ordered that because I like Wes Craig. But everybody else, I'm just like, yeah, I might check in on them, but I'm not, super interested in this. I also feel like this is one of those gimmicks that, like, the fact that they're doing so many of them, it's only nice when they do that every once in a while. You're doing literally 5 one-shots, and, there's some good artists on these books, but not to the point where I feel like you needed to do this many of them either, right? So anyways, that's just me, but Hyde Street #5, Chris.
This Hyde Street place, they're building the foundation here. This is a story of what's a good lady or good body. She seems to be like a fitness instructor right straight out of the 80s there, and mixed in with just a heap of, I don't know how to say this properly, non-helpful comments, let's say.
Yeah.
She's just berating this lady. They're telling her to get up and go, and the girl there is like, oh, I think you pushed me too far. And then I guess she pushed her over the edge, and that lady ends up having a heart attack. And then kind of, things go sideways for this instructor. And then I think her sister shows up, and then she blurts out still, and she's still sticking to her stance that, oh, if she wasn't so fat, then, it wouldn't
Lazy.
be.
I was trying to motivate her. Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of sticking to the story. And, she didn't really realize her mistakes. And then, I guess the sister was going to sue her. And then I guess she ends up on Hyde Street and ends up with a deal there. And it sounds like she's been doing pretty well on Hyde Street selling her wares. And we have Mr. X-Ray shows up, and she seems to be two kills away from getting her freedom. And I'm starting to get interested on like kind of what happens on Hyde Street. You know, like the story here. It was a good story about like her history, but what really kind of picked out for me was what's happening on Hyde Street. You know, with that professor or whatever, Mr. X-Ray coming in, and they say, oh, we gotta take care of this pranky kid. He's just killing there. He's had all his kills, and he's just there for fun now. And you almost treat him like Beetlejuice there for 1 second. It's like, hey, don't say his name. He shows up when you come in, and then
Yeah.
sure enough, at the end of the story, Frankie shows up, and it seems whenever he shows up, that's not good news for the other members of Hyde Street.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is kind of picking up on that one shot that they did a while ago. Remember I told you about that one shot called Devour or something? That was it was like a side stories, it seems like, of
Yeah,
characters. I think this is basically following up on that character, essentially, what ended up happening there. And if it doesn't have to do with those characters, and it definitely felt like more in line with that kind of thing. Because that was the whole thing too, was that issue was people that were getting too fat, and then they ate this thing that it was a bug from the inside that ate them up essentially and made them so it was like a tapeworm that if you ate it would eat, so you wouldn't actually gain the weight, right? So
yeah.
this kind of felt more in line with that kind of thing if it had nothing to do with that one shot that they ended up doing. But I like how they keep introducing people in this book that are part of this street, and like you said, like the street itself, and like the rules essentially of the street. Like they only give us a little bit at a time, like learning about like what's happening in this world, right? But clearly that Boy Scout kid is a problem. Like that's the thing they keep kind of letting us know as readers, like especially that X-ray spec guy. I don't know how much longer he's going to put up with that shit, but all these people that are on Hyde Street seems like they deserve it because this woman's insane. Like she fucking killed this woman's sister after she was trying to accuse her of killing her, right? So,
Well, but then they go into her history too. It sounds like her parents kind of programmed her to be that way. It seems, or her mother at least.
right. Oh yeah, she has her own problems. Absolutely, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
because her father left her because the mother or the father left her for like a fitness instructor or something like that as well. I don't know.
yeah, so evil maybe not, but she's definitely pretty bad as well. Like oh yeah, see she does have the devour bottle there. Okay, so this is a tie into that. So that this is the woman from that one shot. That this bottle that she's trying to hawk here at the end, that's the thing that like the big
Yeah.
tapeworm creature thing that they did the one shot about. Okay, so they might be doing more of those at some point just to kind of maybe make it easier when they reintroduce characters on Hyde Street, essentially give them those little one shots, right? So yeah, not bad. I like this, but I don't know what's the greatest part about this though is that the kid is apparently like past like how many he needs. He just
Yeah,
enjoys
he's just hanging around there because he likes it.
yeah, he just like likes fucking with people, which is kind of crazy, right? So I like this book. Every time I read it, it's enjoyable.
I
Surprise.
don't think Jeff Johns likes the fitness industry. I'll say that much.
Yeah, absolutely. What'd you give this?
I'll give it a 4. I like this one.
Same. Yeah, it's fun. Next up we got Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe one last time, #1. And it's been a long time since they did one of these. They've done like 2 others, I feel like, of these miniseries written by Cullen Bunn, who returns here. And if you're gonna listen to the title here, it may be the last time that he does this because there's not many people left. It seems like that he hasn't killed.
Depends how well this sells, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. What'd you think?
But from the beginning, it's a little stroll down memory lane. You get to see a lot of characters of what's going on. I enjoyed the Deadpool that was there in the beginning. It seemed to be more of a no nonsense type Deadpool. He wasn't so jokey or so quippy, and he takes care of business. And it was fun to see. But I think as the comic went on, whatever happened, something happened to him where he started getting more jokey and more quippy at the end. We're more towards the Deadpool everybody knows and loves. But if they were to stick with this more solemn Deadpool, let's say, I wouldn't have minded that one bit. But I did like the Superior Spider-Man little homage they had there. They had a few pages with that with Otto Octavius as being Spider-Man there, and he freaking just blows him up with some bombs. I think he's after whatever, like key. I don't know if you want to call them the anchor beings or something, sort of like the movie there when he's looking for
Yeah.
the anchor Wolverines.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not bad. It's a fun comic, and I'm looking forward to reading more of it.
Yeah, I had a good time with this. I don't think I would have checked this out if it wasn't such a small week like we had, but this
Yeah,
was fun. I think I read the original miniseries where it was just called Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. I think they did one more after that, if I'm not mistaken. This might be like the third entry into these miniseries, but I did like the more serious, kind of like less jokey Deadpool, even the way the artist depicts him, where you can see his eyes out of
yeah,
the eye holes. Like, I think that's a really interesting choice. It just really kind of helped ground the ground the character into the sense of like, okay, this is a real life dude, and like, you know what I mean, like, and he's very deadly, and he's like, and it's
yeah.
just like
It's
this
more
whole
no
character.
nonsense.
Yeah, I liked that. But then like his fourth wall breaking inner monologue, jokey voice with the yellow, with the they put with the yellow color there,
Yeah,
came back partway through his killing spree in this. But then, there was some fun stuff to follow with him. Basically, now it seems like he's just killing all the different variations of known characters. Because if I had to guess, he's already killed all the main characters in the
yeah,
previous series. So now you're seeing all the different variations in different universes that he's hopping around in. And then at the end, they kind of alluded to something where like he might actually have to help save the day there in some universe that he popped into. I don't know. Did you get that? Like she said, like
yeah. I think that's the gist of it. But
yeah.
I don't know what the story is. I don't think the story is really all that important. But I'm there for the ride.
Yeah, you got the Planet Hulk there that he had to fight, and you got Frankencastle when Punisher turned into a Frankenstein monster in the comics. That not a lot of
Yeah,
people like that Rick Remender did years ago. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll end up seeing what happens next. But I actually might read the rest of this. This was fun. I enjoyed myself with this. What'd you give this out of 5?
yeah. I'll give it a 3.75. It probably would give it more if they kept it more of as a, like you
Yes,
said, no nonsense Deadpool.
I agree. Yeah, 3.75 out of 5 for me too. Then we got West Coast Avengers #6, Chris.
That is a sick cover, though, man. I almost want to buy it just for that cover. That's a
Nice one.
great cover, and it does kind of foreshadow what happens in the comic because the West Coast Avengers or the actual Avengers show up there, and they don't seem to be very friendly with Tony Stark. And the stuff with Wasp, I guess it comes into play later on in the story. And it was an okay fight, like they were fighting, but you could see that they're both holding back. It wasn't like, some all out war where they're looking for each other's heads while they're fighting each other. They just sort of had a misunderstanding, or well, maybe not so much of a misunderstanding, but they don't believe what's happening with Ultron. And basically that it's the Ultron is the conflict in the story. Is that the Avengers don't want Ultron, messing around. And it looks like this Ultron is on the level. So we'll see where it goes. I did like the battles between, the Avengers and the West Coast Avengers because they are. I don't even want to call them a B team. They're like a freaking Z team compared to the Avengers there. And it was funny, just stuff with the Bolt and
Yeah.
Storm fighting each other.
Here's an
It was a real fun.
Omega level mutant, and the Blue Bolt. He's like, "Hey, you ready to
Yeah,
fight?"
I got you. Don't worry. Hey, you want to do this? No lightning. She's like, yeah, no problem.
I know, she just beats the shit out of him. He's like, "No lightning, let's go head to head." She's like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, okay."
we'll just do this by hands. Yeah,
Uh,
that was great. And then the ending, I don't mind. I don't mind the way it ended either,
no,
with Wonder Man showing up.
this book's growing on me, man. I mean, Duggan's, it was a slow burn. It wasn't clicking for me 100%, but every issue, it's kind of leaving me with a moment I really enjoy out of it.
Yeah,
So, like,
once you settle in for the tone of the comic, if you're down with the tone or the vibe, whatever you want to call it, uh, it's not bad. It almost has a bit of that X Factor vibe to it. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yes,
But
because
maybe not as jokey. But like this isn't a comic to be taken super seriously. Like they're
yeah.
not laying out canon events in this comic. Let's say that much at least.
No, this is very much still like within the Marvel universe and an Avengers team. It's not played as a satire as X Factor is,
Yeah,
essentially, where they're making fun of the team, and not only that, like actual like social kind of like commentary on stuff between corporations and all this other shit. Yeah, that's much more like that. Where, but I get what you mean, like just from the idea of like this is a schlubby Z level team or whatever. That like
yeah,
I think it's funny just because Tony Stark is like, clearly I'm trying to do something here, guys. He's like, this is like my reformed criminal team or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's just
yeah,
he's got like a woman who's going to rehab on it. He's got, he's got a guy that's literally still in jail that just gets released to fight for them. So like, there's some interesting things going on here. Then you got an Ultron on the team of all things. So
yeah.
I like it, man. It is growing on me. I knew if I stuck with it, like I hoped that it would pan out, and it's getting there. I do still, I'm starting to enjoy it more and more each
And I
issue.
do like it that they almost stick it to the Avengers too. Those guys, they seem to be too high on their horse.
Oh, of course. I like too that he was it Janet Van Dyne there that showed up, and she's like, okay, now I'm gonna take my Blade Runner gun and get out of here. Like
Yeah,
she's
because
gotta
I
get,
guess they forced Tony to reveal his
yes.
plan B. And at the end, he goes, "Yeah, thanks, guys. Now you reveal my plan B. Now I got to figure something else out."
Yeah. They kind of
You know,
forced
so
his
they
hand.
feel like chumps. It's like, okay, well, we
Yeah.
should have trusted you, but we don't.
Yeah.
And that sort of reveals a bit of the way the true Avengers feel about Tony Stark or Iron Man. It seems they don't like him too much either.
It's fair though. Tony can't be trusted. I mean, it's true. I mean, he can't be trusted. He's a hard guy to trust, right? Like, I get it. But yeah, I mean, Wonder Man showing up at the end, he's gonna have a bone to pick with
Yeah,
Blue Bolt or whatever the fuck that guy's name is gonna be interesting to say the least. What's gonna happen there? Because he's now going by Wonder Man apparently, and who was a member of the West Coast
yeah.
Avengers, of course,
Well,
right?
he's been sitting up because he's been. I believe he wants to be a pacifist or something.
That's right. Yeah.
I guess not
Um,
anymore.
yeah, he's pissed off. What'd you give this?
I get a 3.75. It's a fun read.
Same, yeah.
And there is good stuff there that could be explored if they do want to go that way. Like that Ultron stuff that could be big business.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right, X-Men 14, the last book of the night here. I got this. I got the Marvel versus Capcom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I should have that one. We'll see. I'll find out next Wednesday.
What'd you think of this?
Uh,
Yeah.
that's okay. The stuff that is kind of holding me in here is those 3K X-Men they're talking about. I think they introduced a new character in here. I forget what his name is. He looks badass. I imagine he's gonna be a bad guy for a while, and somehow either gonna be a good guy. But I think most of this issue, that kid that was around in the beginning, that they thought was a mutant, turns out not to be a mutant. She goes missing, and they're all trying to find her. And, you kind of get some, of the team out there trying to find them. And these 3K mutants are sort of plotting in the background. And I don't know if they put on a true attack, but the X-Men do believe that they're under attack, so everybody's kind of going into a lockdown sort of mode. And then you find out that the kid actually is a mutant. She was like a twin or something, and then she ate her. That is a crazy story. She ate her twin mutant in the womb, and then I don't even know how to explain it. It's just dumb, but so she is a mutant, but you can hide her mutation because it's the other
Yeah.
undead twin sister, twin brother, whatever.
Yeah.
That
No,
is a mutant. So
yeah, you got it. Yeah, I know it's weird, but yeah, that's basically
but I
what.
do like this guy. This is like straight out of the '90s. Freaking
Yeah,
buckles, muscles, big guns.
yeah.
I
It kind
like him. I don't know what he does, but we'll see what happens.
of seems like a Cable type of character or
Pretty
something.
much, yeah.
Yeah. And then of course you got Stegman, who came back for art on this issue. And you know what? I think he did a great job on this issue. I gotta say,
Yep.
there's a lot of great close-up kind of panels that he did in this issue. I noticed that really stuck out. And then, you got great splash pages like this, just introducing the character. And I thought he actually did a really good job of this issue. I know it's taken him a while to come back, but he clearly looks like he was banking issues during that time. So,
Yeah,
uh,
hopeful.
yeah. So, yeah, not bad, but also not great either. I'm still like very lukewarm on this whole X-Men right now, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like I keep saying, like, this is the flagship title and the one that I want to be good. And to be honest, probably if I had to pick a favorite out of all those team books that came out, this was the only one I stuck with at this point in issues. So, but yeah, it's not doing too much for me either. So I don't know. It's just is the days are numbered even for this book at this point with the X-Men. I just might be done with this era of X-Men. I don't know, man.
I might be
it's
in for this arc here with this 3K
yeah,
X-Men that they're going to be battling, but
yeah. I know it's
from the
disappointing.
stories, I don't have freaking big hopes.
Yeah. What'd you give this?
That's 3.5.
Yep. Yeah, 3.5 out of 5. And I'm going to give the bump because of the Stegman on this issue coming back, I feel like, because otherwise, not too interested in what happened here. All right, that's going to do it for the books that we read this week that we wanted to talk about. Chris, what are you looking forward to checking out next week?
All right, let's see what we got going on. Let's see. So this is for April 9th. So for DC, going Absolute Batman for sure. Might try and read Aquaman again. Oh, DC versus Vampires, number 8.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's it. Not a big week for DC. And Marvel, we got the Ultimates 11. Looking forward to that. Well, Amazing Spider-Man number 1. This better be good.
Oh, is this the crossover thing, or
No, Amazing Spider-Man number 1's out next week.
amazing? I'm sorry, I thought you said Ultimate Spy. I thought it was that Ultimate event. Okay,
That might be
yeah,
out too. Or no. So that's a while down, but
Amazing Spider-Man 1. Yeah, okay. The fact that we're not excited for this is just not good. We're just like,
and after all those conversations, whatever all the stuff that the Marvel editors and people have been putting out, I'm ready to freaking just drop this if it's no good. I'll just stick with like we're saying, oh, if you don't like it, don't read it. We're gonna do what we want to do.
All right, I won't. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, pretty much. We read them all. You go, oh, if you like Ultimate, just keep on reading Ultimate. I'll happily read that. It comes out once a month, and it's good.
Yeah, that's true.
Versus whatever 2, bi-weekly for garbage.
Yeah.
Unless that Pepe Larraz freaking knocks it out of the park. That would kill me if they have Pepe Larraz freaking drawing great stuff and it's
He
a
is
dumb
good.
story.
He is very good. All right.
I know he's good. That's
The
crazy.
last
That's
time
weird.
I feel like we saw him was on Big Game, right? I don't think he's popped up again since then, has he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good.
See, I think I might have a Hulk because of one of those Bengus variants.
Okay.
I'll probably read the Doctor Strange of Asgard. That's it. It looks like it's another small week again, which I don't mind. Let's see if the Image got anything cooking. Oh, Transformers 19, Geiger 13. I know you read Phantom Road. Looks like that's coming out.
Yeah.
Oh, Gromit 7. Has Gromit's been... I feel like we haven't talked about Gromit's for a long time.
The last issue took a couple of months to come out, yeah.
Seasons 4. That's it. There might be a few other ones I read. They have Spawn there. I'm not sure if I have that on my pull list or not. And, let's see. They have that G.I. Joe Real American Hero number, Jinx number 1. I don't know what that's about, but I don't
That's
know
a
if I'll be
silent
reading that.
mission one, I think.
That's another silent mission one?
Yeah. I think that's weekly throughout this month, if I'm not mistaken.
Oof, weekly. Weekly's a comic killer. And I think that's it. I don't know if Dark Horse has anything happening. Yeah, this Vatican City. Heard some good things about that. Did we talk about that Vatican City?
No, I don't even know. I've never read that. No, you heard good things about that?
Yeah, it's by Mark Millar, and it's about vampires.
What?
I think the whole world is taken over by vampires except the Vatican.
How did that slip past me? When is that coming out?
Next week.
Is it the first issue next week?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Good eye on you. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. I'll read the solicitations. The world has been overrun by vampire apocalypse. Every man, woman, and child dead except 2,000 tourists safe behind the walls and holy relics of Vatican City.
That slipped past me. Yeah, I did not know that was the thing. Okay, yeah, definitely check that out if it's Mark Millar.
Yeah, Mark Millar and Narwhal is the artist. I don't know if you're familiar with that name or not.
No, not at all. Although he's doing more vampire stuff then outside a nightclub, it sounds like then. Huh. I wonder if he's gonna tie it in. Yeah, okay. But yeah, for me, I got Absolute Batman 7, Amazing Spider-Man 1, DC versus Vampires, World War V 8. Moon is following us 8. Phantom Road comes back, as Chris said. Seasons 4, Transformers 19. Yeah, a lot of Image books I have next week. And then Ultimates 11. Not too much from the big two. That stuff I'm actually picking up. But yeah, there's probably a couple things I'll read digitally as well. Like Chris mentioned, the that Doom One World Under Doom tie-in book I'll probably read. Let me just have it. I have the list here. Let me just double check if there's anything else digitally that I'll be checking out. Remind myself of here. Not much from DC. I don't think there's anything else I'll be reading digitally from them. Oh, Grommets as well. I didn't mention that. Grommets 7, last issue of that. I don't know. I might check out the G.I. Joe book. Geiger for sure. That's it from Image. And then Marvel. Marvel, if there's anything. Doctor Strange of Asgard for sure. I think that's it, though. Not too much else. So a decent size. Oh, Storm 7. Yeah, Storm 7 I'll read. Yeah, Uncanny, no. I'm not reading that. Okay, yeah, that's it. So yeah, not too bad. A decent sized week, but nothing too crazy. So all right, that's what we're looking forward to checking out next week. Chris, I think it's pretty obvious, right? I'll hold it up for both of us. Our favorite
Only
book.
Venom 5. No.
Yeah, no. Our
Yeah,
favorite
easily. Daredevil. Come on.
Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell. Yeah,
Yeah.
number 1. Easily.
I hope they leave some meat on the bone. I could see this. If he comes out every year in just this 3-issue arc of this story, that'd be freaking perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And again, like a near flawless issue, honestly. Like not really any negatives to say, as you could tell from our ratings and from us praising the book. It was a great book, and a great book that came out on a week that, a decent week, but just not a huge week in terms of releases. So I think this was I hope a lot of people gave this one a shot, because if not, definitely go and try to find an issue, because it's really, really good. I
Yeah,
can't wait for
that's worth the price.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I don't let the price tag scare you. I know sometimes it's like you pick up these books that are $5, $6, $7, and you read it in 2 minutes, and it's like some baloney shit going on where it's just like you could care less. This is not that. This is a fully realized story that's happening with a future version of this character, and some crazy moments happen throughout the book, right? So I think it's definitely worth the price of admission for sure. So yeah, good stuff. All right, that's going to do it for this week, guys. Thank you for tuning in. As always, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week as always. Thanks, Chris.
All right, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.